The internet is losing its mind over Steve Trevor's return in Wonder Woman 1984. New images from the Wonder Woman sequel dropped this morning from director Patty Jenkins and actress Gal Gadot. Now, we were already super excited for the sequel, which is now officially called Wonder Woman 1984. But after seeing the images tweeted out today, we are equal parts excited and confused. The first pic of Wonder Woman shows Diana at a bank of TV monitors, which seems simple enough. We get shots from the classic TV show Dallas, as well as the movie National Lampoon's Vacation, highlighting that she is indeed in the 1980s. But the shot that caught the entire internet's attention was the one of Steve Trevor, previously dead Air Service captain and sometime boyfriend of Diana Prince, dressed in an 80s tracksuit and very much not dead in what can only be a shopping mall, which you might remember from the 80s. The internet rightly and appropriately lost its dang mind at this image, wondering things like, how is Steve alive? How has he not aged? And where did he get that tracksuit? We're already seeing lots of speculation and fan theories spring up from the internet to explain Steve's post-death vacation to the future, and we're cutting through all of them. So let's dig in. First off, is this a flashback? Probably not, since Steve seemingly died back in the 1910s. Why would he be rocking that exquisite 80s look? Shouldn't he be wearing his World War I regalia? Crossing flashbacks off the list. Now, some folks are speculating that the 1984 Steve Trevor in the pit could actually be a descendant of Steve who happens to look exactly like him. And there's precedent for this in the Wonder Woman TV show from the 70s. But if we look back at Patty Jenkins' tweet, she says that this is Steve Trevor, and welcome to 1984 is exactly the type of thing you'd say to someone who is a time traveler from a different era. So we're thinking the Steve Trevor's grandson theory is bogus. Plus, Marvel has the dating a younger relative of your old sweetheart down with Cap and Sharon Carter. Another possibility is that Trevor took a page from another Chris who plays a Steve and just woke up in the 80s after being frozen in time, which would explain why he hasn't aged much in the photo and why he looks so confused. If you were a time traveler stuck in a 1980s mall, you'd be confused too. But we're thinking probably not, as it treads too close to both Captain America and the Winter Soldier storylines at Marvel. Now, that leaves a few more options that we do think are more likely candidates. It's possible that Steve appears in that mall due to some type of mystical illusion by a trickster god. We are dealing with Amazonians and Greek mythology, so maybe some sneaky deity is after Diana and wants to mess with her mind by giving her delusions of Steve Trevor. Or Diana found a way to bring him back to life. Again, we are dealing with ancient gods and magic. It's possible the daughter of the Themyscira has some level of access or knowledge to the mystical arts, and she or another god could have found a means to bring Steve Trevor back in the flesh. And finally, this is a long shot theory, but we love it the best. The Steve Trevor we see in 1984 is actually the Martian Manhunter, aka John Jones. While he has yet to make his appearance in the DC Cinematic Universe, old MM is a classic in the comics. On top of powers like flight and super strength, he also has telepathy as well as the ability to shapeshift. It's very possible that John is working to prevent World War III and needs Wonder Woman at his side, and the only way to get her to come out of the shadows is by taking on the form of her old friend from work. Whatever the reason, we're just glad to see Chris Pine back in the Wonder Woman world. But what do you folks think? Is there a Steve Trevor theory we missed? Which Chris who plays a Steve is the best Chris who plays a Steve? And did you see those behind-the-scenes shots of him wearing a fanny pack? Let's discuss. Be sure to like, subscribe, and mash that little bell to get notified every time we drop a video or go live with a show, like today's episode of The Dan Cave. Dan Casey is breaking down the most obscure references you might not know about in Archer. You don't want to miss it.